Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant, and welcome you again on Naval Gun Live. And we are continuing from our last week's discussion, which was about self-worth. And we discussed few things. And if you have not seen the video on how to prepare yourself on self-worth, I think it will be a good idea to go back and see that video. I will share the link along with this video as well. But today we want to give three most important tips to the audience. And for doing that, let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Naval Gun.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. And yes, this is week 2 of self-worth. How to value yourself in front of your clients in many respects. That's where we're getting to today. So just a recap of what we said last week. It's about how do you value yourself? Do you really know who you are? So look at yourself in the mirror and write down the good and the bad about you and be able to live with that analysis, that review. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else. And as we've said on many occasions before, CK, people buy from people they know and like. And this is where we're in the world of consultancy. So there are many Me Too's out there. So the first thing we're going to say today is do not be a Me Too. Okay, so it's the negative of what you should be, because Me Too's get thrown into a box, and you literally get put along the conveyor belt, and it's people just pick which Me Too they like, and Me Too's are typically picked up on price. The cheaper the offer, the more likely people are going to pick it up. And although I'm going to say something about Fiverr.com, it is a Me Too arena. But it's a good Me Too arena because it gets you into a window of opportunity. So this is where you can use the being a Me Too, being someone that's good at SEO, someone that's good at digital, someone that's good at design, and put yourself into a marketplace where everybody else is. So that's the positive side of being a Me Too. So there's two parts of it. So go to where people are looking for you. But now the most important one, the third one, being able to value yourself. So CK, I'm going to put you on the spot now. We never do any rehearsal for this, and you never know what's going to come. So this is live, ladies and gentlemen. So how do you value yourself when you're talking to a client?
Well, to be frank with you, Naval, I value myself a lot.
Good. I'm pleased to hear it. So do I. If you're talking to me, you can only just about afford me. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because when you're in this, the thing about the digital world, as you and I both see it, there's lots of people offering platforms, from the mass platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram to the very bespoke platforms that you get on a very local basis. So it's really hard, actually, to value what you're doing, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yes. So let me ask. In fact, I will give a complete answer now, since now you have clarified. I've got some ideas, and I will also ask you a question related to Me Too. Uh, I think the question that you asked is, how do you value yourself? I have to offer the value to the client. How much I am worth in my own as a personality is not relevant at all, because if I'm not able to draw value for the client I'm talking to, that is really the crux of the matter. So I think one of the ways that I found uh, is basically telling them the numbers, where if they deal with our company, the numbers are very clearly defined on our website, their circulation, their visibility, in terms of click-through rates, in terms of how many visitors we have on our website, and the companies who are dealing with us can get leverage around it. And that clearly is a differentiator because that is the data which is real data, and I provide it to the client. Now, this data is not really the best data. There are people much smarter than what we are doing, much more mature. They have been in this business for many years, and their data when they present is better than what I present. I think that brings me to the second point of how much my circulation costs to the client. And then we can do a simple math. So obviously, if the circulation and the visibility that we offer is lesser than XYZ, then obviously my value will be lesser than that. So I think we go with a simple mathematics. However, my question to you, Neville, is when we talk about Me Too, and if you look at the consultant, and if somebody is saying, hey, I'm executive coach, I will train your leadership team. There are dime a dozen floating around. I mean, just look and you will find, I mean, a simple Google search will get you thousands. So they are, by virtue of saying this word, executive coach, getting into arena of Me Too. So the question is really is that how people get out of Me Too syndrome when there are so many around.
It's a really good question, and like anything else, there's ways that I've done it because I'm in that executive coaching arena, as people might call it. Although, frankly, I don't do much coaching. If truth be known, I just do lots of questions, and I ask people questions. But that's what good coaching is all about in many respects. But there are, yes, there are a million and plus executive coaches, lifestyle coaches, personal coaches, performance coaches, um, and that's just one typical profession. If coaching is indeed what they call a profession, a lot of people will know of a coach as a sports coach, someone that is there to help you improve. And that's where we need to start with. You mentioned executive coaches, so we're talking to those people out there that are in this Me Too arena of being an executive coach. Obviously, people are going to say, where's your background? Where's your proof? Who have you done this with before? That goes without saying. If you've not done that, then you better go start producing that list. Where's your case studies? Where's your testimonials? I'm not talking about huge, lengthy case studies. Remember, executive coaching is very personal. You're not going to be able to say, I mean, I know some people that do say this, they go very personally about some of the coaching that they've done, and it's very clearly who they've done the coaching with. That person is really not going to be happy about having their dirty linen exposed in the public arena. It's an executive you're talking to here. They've taken you on in confidence. It's a bit like a psychiatrist or a lawyer or an accountant. You're taken on in confidence. So you can't really, or you shouldn't really, be promoting yourself on the back of a list of people that you've been an executive coach to. At the very best, you can actually put out the companies that you've been connected to. And that might be enough, actually, if you've got a company list which are A-listers, the FTSE 150, 250, or NASDAQ, or Fortune 500 companies, or whatever the equivalent is in India. That may be enough. But the point is, you've actually got to get your message across in a very short period of time. So, yeah, you've got to put your testimonials out there. That's number one. But then you've got to be giving in other areas. So, write an article on LinkedIn. Put out some social media on a regular basis. So, you need to be consistent. And I get a lot of people coming to me to say, I've seen you over the last 6 months and I like your consistent message. And I go back to them and said, well, I'm glad you like it. What have you done with it? because if they've come to me and they now want me to coach them, if they've done nothing, just following me and other people for the last 6 months have done nothing with it, then it's an uphill battle because you're not going to take action. So this is where you are a me too, but you need to stand out in the crowd. The crowd will be saying everything about themselves. They'll be putting their ego out there. They'll be saying me, 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 me. And that's why we call them me toos. Whereas executive coaching or any support is about you, how you've achieved, what I helped you to see, where you've gone without me being a crutch and picking up my regular retainer. And if you're a really good coach out there, never, never go for retainers. Your job is to get in, do the job, and get out again. And there is a trick here, CK. When you're working with a new company, let's just say Tata, everyone knows the name Tata, huge organization. And I'm sure there are hundreds of executive coaches that have been through the Tata executive arena, senior leadership arena, even junior leadership. If you're new to Tata, they want to see who you are, what have you done, where have you done it. Of course they do. So they want to see your portfolio. But you can go and offer to say, give me some control parameters here. Give me someone that's been on a coaching program before and it hasn't quite worked for. And give me someone who is a complete nutcase. Some really difficult member of your team. They're still there because they're performing. But they're really not a team player. They could be obnoxious. They could be very toxic, but they get brilliant results. So you can go in and say, well, give me an opportunity for someone who didn't make it with someone else and someone actually you would never, ever put on a coaching program. You might even do 2 for 1. There's so many opportunities here for an executive coach, any type of coach, to go to an organization and say, you don't know me. I've been very successful over here and here and here. How about if you're into this type of performance improvement, how about you give me a chance? Now you can flower that up in any language you like, but that's effectively what you're saying. You're basically saying, you don't know me. I've got a good track record. Let me show you what could be a possibility for your organization.
So
But
I
you need
think
a caveat. You need to caveat that, They need to believe that coaching is going to work anyway. Because if they don't, frankly, there's no point in having the conversation.
so. If I summarize the learning that you have given us, is first we need to know how much we are worth really in terms of value to the client, not to yourself, but to the client. So you have to have some impression about that. And second is you need to summarize your experience in a way that it is quantifiable. So I think these are the very clear tips that is offered today by you to our viewers, where they can get out of Me Too in a very systematic manner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, we are Me Too's. Just have to accept it. But now is an opportunity to stand out from the crowd. Why will they engage with you as opposed to somebody else? And it could be hard. This is where, this is not for the faint-hearted. This is for people that are confident in themselves. This is the whole point of doing week 1, self-esteem, valuing yourself, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, where your weaknesses are, where your successes are, etc., etc. We are all we've all paid the undergraduate fee into MIT, but it's not the MIT you know, it's management in training. And we all are management in training, because that's, that's where we're all growing to, whether we're in a junior management for all of our life, or a middle management, or a senior management. The point is, we're all in MIT. So now the opportunity is to get out there and show people who you are, what you've achieved somewhere else, and how it's going to be great for their organization. And let me just summarize this even further. It's exactly what you do in an interview if you're going for a job, because it's the same process. There's lots of Me Too's out there that can do the job. Why you? Why would you stand out in the crowd? A job is just a long consultancy in many respects, and all employers are taking probably more of a risk giving you a job, because it's difficult to fire someone, more difficult to fire someone than it is to difficult to fire a consultant. An employee is a bit more complicated, not impossible, but a bit more complicated. So we're not saying anything different from any other walk of life here. It's just a matter of engaging your brain, having the right attitude, and getting on with the job in hand.
So I think the second tip that you're giving is having the right attitude in order to do self-worth assessment. So I think that is number two on our list, where improving your attitude. And there is nothing called positive attitude or negative attitude. It's just the attitude to gain a market share, to go and get things done. So I think you can talk a little bit more on the attitude development for people from all walks of life.
Well, our attitude is really where we all should come from, and it's having, as you say, it's not about positive or negative. It's what attitude you've got. And again, what we did covered in our first session last week was to cover those very issues. Write down on a bit of paper what you're good at and what you're not good at. And don't beat yourself up if you're not good at something. That's actually a learning opportunity. There's lots of people in the past, several people in the past have said, I'm not failing. I'm either succeeding or I'm educating myself. I'm learning. So there's no concept of failure. I'm not saying that failure isn't in the dictionary. The word fail, failure, failed, I failed. Say it, I failed. So what? What did you learn from that failure? Was it really a failure? The answer is, well, you didn't quite get what you wanted, but does that mean it's a failure? So this attitude issue is massive. And all we talk about is having a can-do attitude. And no matter who we are or what we're doing, there are 4 elements at play every time we think of doing something or we physically do something. And the 4 elements are simply how we think, how we feel, how we're connected, and what's driving us. And when I say about driving, what's our purpose here? So it starts off with purpose. So we're driven. What's our drivers? We're driven by a sense of purpose. Our feelings. We need to be in control. We need to be emotionally competent and resilient. Our social drivers. To be socially connected. So how we get our message over in a social basis, and how we think, effectively thinking, not procrastination, because that's not really thinking. That's taking time away from real thinking. So to think effectively and appropriately, how we focus. So if all of these 4 elements, thinking, feeling, social connection, and what we're driven by, are all positive, guarantee you've got a can-do attitude. If any one of those are negative, you haven't got a can-do attitude. And whether it's an employer of someone who's going for a job, or whether it's a client or future client for someone who's going for a contract, for a consultancy, you need to have a can-do attitude. And the other thing, the last thing we're going to say today is it's not about you. It's about your customer, your client. Customer is king, as people will say. Accountants say cash is king, but it's two C's anyway. So it's either customer or cash. But in this particular instance, the customer is king. What do they need? What's their problem? How can you help them fix it? Because it's not about you. You're going to go in, do a job, and get out. Once you've left, your legacy is the job is still being done. The company is still moving forward in the way that you've helped them design. And remember, you've helped them design it. You haven't designed it for them. And I'll make that difference here because the large consultancies of the world, the big management consultancies, will go into an organization and they will impose a process on the organization. And they'll stay there for 4 years, making the process work. And it could be quite painful, by the way, because I've been through this. And then they leave. And then after about 6 months, the process starts to fail and people start to do their own thing. And the consultancy that's just left is never blamed for it. The employees are blamed for it because you've had long enough to change. Now, I don't think we should be getting into that arena, particularly this is the 21st century, not the 20th century of imposition. So today is all about engaging, empowering, inspiring people in your organization. And you can do that through coaching, or you can do that through lots of other ways. But the key thing is, from a consultant's point of view, go in, get the job done, and then get out. Leave them with a legacy that you have then as a testimonial. And just like anything else, CK, if you get a really big client on board, but you only get them on board in a small way because they're testing you, and you do a great job, guess where your next job's coming from?
Right.
The same client.
Same client or probably his competitor, because if we are able to showcase, hey, so much advantage in terms of value to the client, and the competitor starts seeing you, and probably you can get more business from a similar industry or similar clients.
And interestingly enough, I can't say who this is for confidentiality reasons, but one of my founding partners in MindFit had a very good colleague in the 1980s, in the 1990s, and that person was so good that one company said, "You're too good to leave to our competitors. We're going to make you an offer you can't refuse." And they literally gave that person a golden handcuffs contract. It was so good, they couldn't refuse it. And it took that person off the market. Simple as that. So it can happen. I look forward to that golden handcuff offer in the near future. And if anyone's listening, by the way, you can't afford me. So there is absolutely no golden handcuff offer you're going to get here, because I'm doing too many things for young people, and I want them to succeed, and you can't afford for them. So let's bounce that one off the target immediately. But yes, your next client will come from your current client. You've done such a great job, and they're a huge organization. what a surprise. Or it may come from a competitor.
Right, Naval. So at this juncture where we have almost come to the end of our discussion, I have to ask you one last question, which is not related to our subject today.
Go ahead.
Uh, we are going through COVID, and whatever we have discussed, these multiple points about attitude, about self worth assessment, and how to get out of Me Too. Um, will it change because of COVID, or there is anything specific required to cope up with the current situation?
It's a good question. COVID, as we know, is here to stay. So our world has changed, shifted its axis, certainly on a business concept. More people are going to be working from home or from anywhere going forward. There are obviously going to be some exceptions, like manufacturing. You can only manufacture in one place, so everyone, majority of people, would still need to be in that manufacturing plant. So I think it's the way businesses are maturing. We are seeing, obviously, we're seeing lots of challenges in the banking sector, financial, tech, the apps that are coming through. So there are things that are changing irrespective of the COVID arena. But I suppose the simple answer is it's going to be different. You as a person of interest in the consultancy world, let's talk to these people, the consultants, you need to be aware of the impact you can have in this new world. Remember, as a consultant, you've worked from anywhere for the last however long. I mean, when I left corporate life, I left an office. I also left a boss, so it was those unusual occasions where I left the company and I left the people out of choice. And I started to work from home. That was a massive difference for me. That adjustment was interesting, frankly. I mean, it took me a little longer than I expected. But then again, I wasn't going to work anyway, so I was sort of semi-retiring. But you, as a consultant out there, you've done this all your life, so you've got actually quite a lot to offer. And I think there's a lot of people don't realize actually that you really do have a lot to offer, because you not only work from home, but you work from one organization to another, to another, to another. So you are a very flexible type of individual. If you've got a number of clients in different sectors, you're incredibly flexible. And the interesting thing, CK, is that's what your customer will be buying. Remember, this is a supply and demand market. If they want what you've got and you know where they're looking in that marketplace, then you have an opportunity to offer what you've got because they want you to tender. And the more you have to offer, the more variety you have, or actually the more specific solution you have, could be what they're looking for. But until you ask them, you don't know. Let me give you a simple example here. 10 years ago, I was introduced to a company, and they asked me to come and coach the senior team. So I did what I normally do. I say, why? Because I want to work with an organization that wants to be successful, really wants to make changes and prepared to make changes. So I went and talked to several people in the senior leadership team. And one or two asked me of my background. So I gave them it. It's pretty obvious. You can see it on LinkedIn. You can see it anywhere, really. And Then I had a meeting with the chief exec at the end, and he said, "You've got no specific industry knowledge of what we do." And I said, "Specifically, no, you're right. Why'd you ask?" He said, "Well, you really need to know about our industry." And I said, "Well, hang on a minute. You said about specific knowledge and now knowing about your industry. I actually know quite a lot about your industry." And I started to say things that he'd never heard of in his industry. And then he said, "But you don't know much about the specifics of the industry." And I'm thinking, this guy is absolutely never, ever going to change. So I said, "Thank you very much for the offer, but I won't be working with you." And he said, "Well, we weren't going to offer it to you because you don't have specific industry knowledge." And I said, "Well, in that case, then we're both happy, aren't we?" And I shook his hand and I left. 48 hours, I think it was later, I got an email, "Could you come back in and we'd like to make you an offer?" So I politely sent an email back to say, "Thank you very much, but I don't think you're ready to change." So there, you have to know your parameters as well as their parameters. So I suppose the last message I'm going to say here is, if it's a hand in glove solution, so you're the hand and they're the glove, or they're the hand and you're the glove, and it's got 4 fingers and a thumb and it's about the right size, okay, then it's going to work. But if it's only got 3 fingers, no thumb, then your glove isn't going to fit that hand. So walk away. Don't force what you're doing into what they want, because it's never going to work. The marriage is not going to happen. Easy for me to say, very hard for people to do, especially when it's the only offer out there.
You're right, Neville. I think you have shared a lot many stuff today. Lot of advices you have given directly, indirectly to our viewers. I think it's going to help us a lot. And you're always available to help people, executives. So any viewer who are watching this and want any specific help from Neville, you can reach out to him directly, or we can reach out to us, and we will connect you with Neville. So with this, I will end this discussion, Neville. Thank you very much. We will catch you again on Naval Gunt Live next Wednesday. Until then, bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good day, everybody.